Okay, so in Korea, there are two types of birthing centers. You can go to a hospital or you can go to a birthing center. So a birthing center is smaller. It's kind of like more specific to giving birth. And a big hospital would be more of like a medicated, large, kind of, stereotypical birth route to take. So in Korea, a lot of doctors are very pro C-section. I think like the rate is like over 90% now of like births in Korea are done by C-section. I think a lot of it has to do with like doctors wanting to schedule, as well as women wanting to schedule their births. So that's done mostly at large hospitals, and a lot of times people go in hoping for a natural birth and end up in C-section, either because they have to, I mean, of course it happens, but a lot of the time just because they're forced into it. And I've read a lot of stories from other expat women who wanted a certain type of birth and that's not what they got. So that kind of freaked me out and pushed me away from the larger hospitals, and I went more towards a natural birthing center. So I gave birth at a place called GMJ, which is in Gwangmyeong. So it's a small birthing center. They focus on natural birthing. My midwife spoke English. I had a midwife, which is not super common in Korea. And also my doctor spoke well enough English that like we could communicate. So that was really great. I chose this birthing center for a few reasons. First of all, English. When you're in the middle of giving birth, you do not want to have to like stop and have your husband translate what you're trying to say to the nurses or the doctors or whatever. So that was a big thing for me. Number two, I am deadly afraid of needles. And the thought of having an epidural unnecessarily freaked me out. I did not want IVs. I did not want epidurals. I did not want C-sections unless it was obviously needed. Then in that case, of course. But the idea of just someone being like, oh, you know what, like it's not working out, let's just do this, even though I hadn't even tried, or something just really scared me. And so I was like, I want to go somewhere where they're pro-natural birth, where they'll give me a chance to give it a try. And then worst case scenario, I end up in a C-section, and of course baby still comes out, so that's all that matters. That was my other main reason. Another reason I decided to go to this center was because in Korea, in large hospitals, you can't room in with your baby. So after giving birth in Korea, most hospitals and birthing centers too actually take the baby away from the parents, and the baby's put in a nursery where you have like a number, and you can like go up to the window and show the nurses the number, and then baby will be brought up to the window for you to view. Only the mothers are allowed to go in and actually see the baby and touch the baby, but you're only allowed to go in specific times during the day for a certain amount of time. So it's usually 2 or 3 times a day for 30 minutes. I didn't really like that idea, so I did some research, and the birthing center I chose with our first daughter allowed us to room in with the baby. So once Nari was born, she went right onto my husband's chest, and they did kangaroo care while I was just looked after, made sure everything was okay. And then once that was all done, she came over to me. I got to try breastfeeding for an hour and a half, and then they put us into a wheelchair, wheeled me up to my recovery room where I had a bed, my husband had a bed, and our baby also had a bed. My hospital did have the option of having your baby be put in the nursery if you wanted a break, or like, you know, if you had a C-section, maybe it could be a little bit harder to be able to care for your baby alone. So some nights, you know, put them in with the nurse. But it was an option, which was great. So I chose to keep her in the room. And that was a really big factor for me as well. Another big factor as to why I chose my birthing center versus a Korean hospital, a larger hospital, was because I didn't want to have to be stuck in a bed the whole time. So in a lot of Korean hospitals, once you're admitted to give birth, you are put on your bed and you're not allowed to get up, you're not allowed to move, you know, you stay on your bed on your back. You're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to drink water until you give birth. You can't like birth in whatever position you want. It's very constricted. And I kind of like the idea of having the option of getting up and moving around. And if I wanted to drink water, I drink water. And if I wanted to eat a burger, I could eat a burger. And so my birthing center had this option. The room, I will post a picture. The room basically has a tub where you can birth in the tub if you want. I did like all the pre-pushing in the tub. You can birth on the bed. You can use the any of the birthing equipment, like they have things to help you squat. They have exercise balls that you can bounce on or lean on. They had a shower if you wanted to birth with a shower. That's also an option. You could do whatever you wanted. I had my water break the night before I actually gave birth. So around 11 p.m. my water broke, so I went into the hospital, and then I ended up getting stalled labor, but they kept me there because I had a rip and my water was leaking. So they did keep me there, and I did unfortunately need a IV because after 24 hours they like to put in some antibiotics just to make sure that you're not getting an infection. Seems how it was opened and water was leaking but nothing was coming out. So they did put me on an IV, and I did get antibiotics given to me just to make sure the baby was okay. But I didn't want to be given Pitocin or anything right off the bat. I wanted to still try, although my labor was stalled, to get it going again naturally. So my midwife and my husband helped me with lots of different stretches and different positions to try and like wiggle the baby around. I did the stairs in the building, like the birthing floor is on, like, I think it's the 8th or 9th floor. So I was going up and down the stairs with my husband. They actually like put a plug into my IV, like capped my IV, and they told me to go out. So there's like a local market nearby the birthing center. So my husband and I walked around the local market. We had, I think we had Dunkin' Donuts actually for lunch. We went out for lunch. They gave me a breast pump to try and like stimulate like feeding, to try and get my hormones to help the baby come out. I mean, like, we did everything, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted that freedom to move and try things, and you don't get that in large Korean hospitals. So that didn't work, unfortunately. So my midwife said I could sleep again, get some rest, try again in the morning, or they could give me just a shot of Pitocin, not a drop, just like a shot, just to kind of see if it'll kickstart anything. So that's what I did. And then she told me to like sleep, and probably by the next morning things will really start going, and the baby will come out. But I got that shot of Pitocin, and probably about 30 minutes later I started getting contractions, and my midwife lit the candles, filled the tub. I put on my music. That's another option. I could put music on, and I was in the tub. Maybe 20 minutes in the tub, my water fully broke. And then from there, it was about an hour of back to back to back to back contractions all back labor, no breaks between contractions. It was brutal. My husband was an amazing birth partner. Another benefit, some hospitals still don't encourage men to be in the room with their wives in Korea. My husband was there as my birth partner for the whole thing. So I was like freaking out. I was in so much pain. My husband was, using a cloth and dabbing me and helping me change positions in the tub. And he was giving me water every time I had like a 10-second break between a contraction. So he was great. My midwife and my doctor came in. My doctor was actually in his clothing to go home. And he was like, well, I'm going to check where you're at, dilation wise, but like, you got to kind of calm down because you're just getting started. Like, you have a long birth ahead of you. So he had a look and he was like, oh, actually you're 10 centimeters dilated. So you can start pushing. And I'd actually just been asking, well, not even asking, screaming to my midwife that I wanted to start to push. So I decided that I wanted to move to the bed. So we moved me to the bed, got on my right side. My midwife held my one leg, my husband held the other. It took about 7 pushes and she came out. And it was amazing. And I am so happy with the experience I got. I'm so happy that they were breastfeeding friendly, and I had a breastfeeding specialist come see me right after giving birth to help me get my milk going, teach me some tricks, how to latch, things like that. I'm so happy that we got the skin to skin, that I could birth in any position I wanted, that I could do whatever I wanted. I'm so happy my husband was there for the whole experience. And that's why I decided to go back there for my next birth. So yeah, so that's kind of like a quick look, I guess, into my birth story for my first daughter, and kind of like what it's like to give birth in Korea. There's very different ways, as you heard. Like, you can go the more natural way at a birthing center. You can go to a hospital. I'm not saying if you go to a hospital you have to do a medicated birth. I've seen women on my social media who have given natural birth at hospitals. I think it's just not as common in Korea, and it's something that you sometimes have to fight a lot for if you do want to follow a natural birthing plan. So I think those are all things to kind of like consider if you are going to give birth in Korea. Besides that, I guess that's basically what I'm going to be doing again for this birth. So I'm seeing the same doctor and the same midwife throughout my pregnancy right now, and I'll be giving birth at the birthing center again, and I'm excited for another great experience. And I mean, who knows how this one's gonna go, but hopefully it goes well and we have a happy, healthy family at the end of it. And yeah, so thank you for watching my video, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Hit subscribe on my channel and like the video, and hopefully I can start posting a few more videos. I have ideas about ones about our wedding, dealing with mother-in-laws, how me and my husband first met, things like that. So I'll try and get them up as soon as possible. Thank you.